Voter in Nevada is to change the laws that were put in place back in August due to COVID-19. They were supposed to be put in place to be temporary to protect us voters from the COVID virus, and well, they've led to a lot of mistrust in this election, and America can't stand divided like this. We need integrity in our elections.
And I'm so sorry, it turns out I had a technical problem, so could I have you give me my name one more time there, please?
My name?
Yeah.
John Qualteri.
Thank you. And could you spell the last name again?
Sure, it's Qualtiri.
Thank you so much. And so, John, it sounds like your concerns really go beyond just the measures they're taking for the legislative session this time around. Is that right?
They do. I'm looking forward. I just would like them to stand by their commitment to, I understand protecting the public from the coronavirus. I also understand election integrity, and the two need to mesh. And in the future, we need to repeal those laws. We need to have a vote with a signature attached to it, not the day of, beforehand. We need to have ballots that get sent out to people who actually request them, not people who of unknown origin, or we don't have the good enough technology to track any of this. And I think this is what's leading to most people even wanting to be here. A nation without fair elections is a nation without laws. People can say whatever they'd like about that, but in essence, if half of America doesn't believe that the elections are fair, we've got half of America who doesn't believe in law. That's a scary prospect for everyone, not just Republicans. This is not to do about Trump. He maybe lost, maybe did. I can't say for sure, but I can say for sure is that half of the people think he didn't, and they're not happy, and nobody's addressing their concerns. I feel at the state level is the only place this could be addressed is by having accountable elections in our states, every state, not just Nevada. And until we have that, I don't think there's going to be any legitimacy to any elections going forward. Not just to say the presidential election, but any election, including our legislators. So if they're listening, and I hope they are, I hope that they take into account that do the right thing. It's not hard. We did it for many, many years, and all of a sudden we've changed the rules to adapt it to this coronavirus. I just want to make sure that they get changed back to the way they were beforehand. That's all we're asking for.
And Faith, one thing that I've heard from folks that have been talking about in advance of this session is that the way that things are set up now with the social distancing measures, etc., is really going to favor wealthy interests and corporate lobbyists. And I'm hearing from folks in the grassroots community that they're at a disadvantage essentially to get contact with legislators and get bills put forward. I wonder, do you have an opinion on how things are being run during this session? Do you feel like people are being locked out of the legislature?
I feel like red rural Nevada is being locked out. And that's the majority of the state, if you look at it. And even Washington County's half red, it just shows blue. Washington and Clark both take a majority of power of vote away from red rural.
And you're talking about land area when you say that in the state?
When I'm talking about red rural Nevada, I'm talking about every county other than Clark and Washington. The other 15 counties. Full of farmers and ranchers and dairymen like us that our vote doesn't seem to count. Nor does the
And do you all live here in Carson City? And is this the first time you've come out for a protest?
It is.
Oh yeah?
It is our first time ever coming out, but like I said, it's a scary proposition moving forward with no laws in our country for anyone. If half the country does not believe the election is fair, it has to be above reproach. It just has to be. Otherwise, our republic will not stand.
And what kind of changes would you like to see to restore some of that faith in the right?
Well, we ran elections in this country for a couple hundred years now, and the rules we were running with before seemed to be just fine for everybody. We did not have this kind of subterfuge with the election and the results until we started mixing it with the COVID restrictions and the safety of the election. I just want to see that it goes back to the way it was before when we were past this COVID-19 threat and elections can actually mean what they meant.
And do you think vote by mail has a place in any election? Do you think that's ever valid?
I've voted absentee ballot many, many times because I do work out of town during election season, and I request my ballot. I turn in my paperwork. I go out of my way to take care of these things beforehand so that my vote can count. And mailing it in, they can find a way to secure it. I'm all for it. The more people voting, the better, I do believe. But you have to be above reproach. You have to be fair. You have to be like justice itself. One, you need to know that your vote counted, and my vote counted, and your vote counted, and everybody's vote counted.
Yeah, we want to take care of the votes.
And have you voted absentee before?
I have. I would take time out of time to second guess. So,
And what about during the last election? Did you mail your ballot back in, or did you show up in person?
showed up in person.
And
Both
how-
the primary and in the general election, we showed up and turned our votes in
I
person.
heard Monica Jay's trying to get through. We'll
Cool. And
try to pipe her
I guess
through
I'm
here
curious,
after
what was
these
your
rounds.
experience
We're gonna need to
voting in
get
person during this most recent election, since things were so different and strange?
Those silly items don't have.
Things were fine. We voted early voting in our community there,
Here's something
and
for all
it was very smooth. And
their political capital on these smaller battles, which need to be fought. We need to have a talk about immigration. We needed to have a talk about DACA. I think there's common ground in the middle that both sides can agree on. However, I do feel like in today's political climate, especially with this election being challenged by half of America and then the other half telling him to shut up, it was legal, I feel like it's kind of deja vu all over again with the election of 16 when Trump was elected. You know, everybody, he's not our president, and they were mad. I mean, I get it. I understand how they feel. But at some point, you have to say we're all Americans. You have to be an American. You have to love this country more than you love any one particular political party. I think President Trump would stand behind that. I think that President Biden should try to stand behind that. I think that it's what makes this country great. We can disagree and still get along. We can find the common ground, but for the past 16 years, we haven't even tried. I mean, it's been a downhill slide, you know, and I would have to look at the way the media reports and reporters in general, and I don't know about you, I haven't read any of your work, but, you know, well, you can't have the journalism trade all be one side or the other, and I don't care if it's left or right. What people need is the truth. And people are smart enough to make their own choices. That's why there's people out here today, is because they don't feel like the media has been reporting fairly. They don't feel like it's been consistent, and they don't feel like we've been fed the truth. I look at social media on top of that. Obviously, they're a flawed medium. They're a big part of the problem in America with the divisiveness. Whether they want to be or not, they are. They need to be reined in a little bit. I hate the idea of you know, any curtailment of the First Amendment. I think it's wrong. I think people should be able to say what's on their mind and speak freely. But like I said, I don't feel like we're getting that through the social media platforms right now. To ban a former president off of a social platform, I mean, not that I use Twitter, I never have, but a lot of people do. A lot of people do use Facebook. I don't use that either. I won't use any of those platforms. I've never subscribed to that. I'm kind of a hands-on kind of guy, and I believe that if I have something to say, I'll come and say it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for the President of the United States, he probably can't be here today. Whether it be Biden or Trump, or George Bush, or Clinton, or even Carter for that matter, all our living presidents that are left, you know, but they all should be a little bit concerned about the stiflement of the free speech on any of these social media platforms. That is totally un-American. That's not what makes this country great. Diversity of views is what makes this country great. I may not agree with it, but I will probably die defending it.
Well, thank you both so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, of course. Is it okay if I get a quick photo of you both?
Sure.
Excellent. Thank you. I think I'll just do it that way, so we have the